Hey guys, thanks for joining us here at Salty Ginger Talk. If you're a returning listener, it's great to have you back. If you're new to the channel, really glad you joined us. Hope you like what you hear. So we've got a super awesome guest as usual tonight. His name's Jeff Burningham. Jeff is a very accomplished entrepreneur, ran for governor in the state of Utah. However, we have him on the podcast because he just wrote a super interesting book. It's called The Last Book Written by a Human in the Age of AI. He is going to come on and talk about his thoughts in terms of how humans and AI interact and what that turning point and or key moment in time means for us as a civilization and as human beings. Super interesting guy. Really looking forward to this conversation. So without further ado, let's bring Jeff onto the channel now. Hey guys, thanks for joining us here at Salty Ginger Talk. If you're a returning listener, it's great to have you back. If you're new to the channel, really glad you joined us. Hope you like what you hear. So we've got a super awesome guest as usual tonight. His name's Jeff Burningham. Jeff is a very accomplished entrepreneur, ran for governor in the state of Utah. However, we have him on the podcast because he just wrote a super interesting book. It's called The Last Book Written by a Human in the Age of AI. He is going to come on and talk about his thoughts in terms of how humans and AI interact and what that turning point and or key moment in time means for us as a civilization and as human beings. Super interesting guy. Really looking forward to this conversation. So without further ado, let's bring Jeff onto the channel now.
Here
All
we
right.
are.
So Jeff, thank you so much for joining us here at Salty Ginger Talk.
Joe, it's great to be with you.
Yeah. Super excited about this. Jeff brings a very unique experience. He's written a very, very interesting book, which I read before he came on the podcast. And we're going to talk about his life. We're going to talk about his experiences. We're going to talk about his book, which is largely about what he's learned in his life and experiences and what he thinks is very important for us as a society, as a civilization to focus on going forward. So I'm really looking forward to this conversation. There's driven largely by AI, and Jeff can talk about this in his own words, thought process driven by how people and AI interact and what it's going to mean as those things kind of come together very quickly here in our world.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Jeff, what we usually do is just have turn it over to our guests and have them give kind of an overview of their life, and then we go kind of subject by subject to do deep dives. So the floor is yours, my friend. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll jump in.
Isn't that the question for everyone? Who really are we? And what are we doing here? I mean, those are the questions that the last book written by a human, Becoming Wise in the Age of AI, the book that I wrote, are kind of meant to address. It tackles all the existential questions. But let's see, I grew up in Spokane, Washington, in the Pacific Northwest. I'm the oldest of 6 kids. I grew up in a very boxed in, defined religion, high demand religion as a Latter-day Saint or Mormon Christian. And I love team sports. I was a point guard growing up and a quarterback. Went on a mission to Charlotte, North Carolina, which is normal for people of our faith, for young men, for sure. That was a transformative and interesting experience. And then came back to BYU and met my wife at the MTC, the Missionary Training Center. If you've read our book, Joe, you know more about Sally and I than you ever wanted to know.
I can vouch for that,
including tantric sex.
Exactly, yes.
Yes. But she's my soulmate, my best friend. Have 4 children now, ages 24 to 14. I'm a grandpa, actually. Things happen fast here in Utah. So
Congratulations.
Thanks, man. Yeah, my oldest son has a cute little son as well. So it's fun to be a grandpa. I'm 48 years old. Seems weird that happened so quick. Professionally, I've started a lot of companies. Technology as an undergrad at BYU. When I was in my mid-20s, I sold that first company to a NASDAQ-listed company, a great young learning experience. Spun the proceeds into real estate. You'll remember this, Joe. This is in 04, 05, 06 when you couldn't lose in real estate. So, and not necessarily great at it. But what I did see, and this is a trend in my life, and I think it relates to this book. This book is a weird, mystical adventure. And I knew that there was going to be a pullback in real estate. No market can be that hot for that long.
Right.
So I reached out to two of my best buddies who were Ivy League MBAs, working actually at real estate developers, and said, "Hey, are you seeing what I'm seeing? Are you feeling what I'm feeling?" We spoke about it for 6 to 12 months and decided to launch a real estate private equity firm. It's called Peak Capital Partners. We almost didn't make it, Joe, and this is true of a lot of startups. We had 2 or 3 years basically of no revenue. The Great Recession was much deeper than we anticipated. But when we turned it around, we've turned it around quite significantly. Peak's been one of the fastest growing companies in the country, actually, for the last decade. We've owned about $10 billion or so of real estate in our history. I like early stage and I like risk. So once Peak Capital was established and I knew there wasn't a chance that we were not going to make it, I remember a really important conversation, me and my two partners around a little conference table in our office. And for the first time, we had a little extra money that we didn't have to provide for our families on or pump back into the business, one or the other. And I said, I know exactly what we should do. There's an undersupply of good capital in Utah at that time. This is in like 2010-ish. And an oversupply of good entrepreneurs. Let's start investing in these young entrepreneurs. So I've launched a venture fund and I've invested in like 200 technology companies in my career. Lots of stories there. Two more steps. I lost my mind. And actually, the book starts, Joe, you know this, on the Ganges River in Varanasi, India. And I felt my soul being lured into deeper waters in a little bit of a scary way, but in ultimately a good way. And kind of lost my mind, I'm saying quote unquote, ran for governor out of the blue in Utah, 2019. I guess I'm not afraid, Joe. I don't know. I just go for things. And ran for governor and ran against two very well-known politicians. One who had run for president and was a former governor. The other was the then lieutenant governor. And I'll tell you this, that was a hard decision for me to make. Politics is so ugly, but I felt so compelled to go into that race. And I followed my heart, jumped in. And I'll tell you on my plus and minuses or potential outcomes list, Joe, global pandemic was not on the board.
Right.
Surprise, surprise. It was just not on the board. But that is what ended up happening. As we all know, the most critical months of that campaign were literally March, April, May, and June of 2020. And I remember in this little home office, I have this little blue couch over here that you can see a little bit. I remember laying on that couch about March 10th or 15th, in between there, around midnight, and just weeping because I had put everything into this statewide race. I had raised about $2 million from friends and people that supported me. I matched every dollar that came in, and that was almost just gone because I realized about a week after, the country started shutting down, there was no way for a political outsider like myself to win a race. I've seen it enough. When there is massive disruption in financial markets or in political markets, there's always a flight to safety, and that makes sense. But there's no way that an upstart and an outsider like me was going to win. So anyways, finished the race the best I could, but ended up losing that race. It was a very public defeat. And into the summer of 2020. And here's where the story gets interesting and really interesting maybe. And here's where I will wrap up on this long intro. Is this too much, Joe?
This is short compared. No, this is actually short compared to a lot of people, believe it or not.
Hey, well, I've covered a lot of ground here. I'm giving the framework and laying the groundwork here. I was 43 years old and I had space and time for the first time in my entire adult life. And I often tell I've been an adjunct professor at BYU down the street from me to thousands of students in entrepreneurship. And I often tell them that with space and time, anything can be created. And man, I never thought I'd write a book. I never planned to write a book. My this book like came through me, like it had to be birthed in the world. This is how I felt.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wrote this crazy, cosmic, weird book called The Last Book Written by a Human. It launched at the end of the summer of 2025. It was a #7 national bestseller. It's an interesting book, and the core message is this simple sentence, and then I'll turn it back to you. As our machines become more and more intelligent, Joe, our work as humans has to be to become more wise. If we do not become more wise, and we're talking in October 2025, there are devastating things, it seems, almost happening on a weekly basis or a daily basis, even. If we do not come back to ourselves as humans, if we do not apply real wisdom here, I'm concerned about the future that we're leaving. I know you're a dad, that we're leaving for our children and grandchildren. So that's why I wrote the book. It's resonating with people. I hope people will check it out. It's meant to be a conversation starter. So I'd love to hear what people think, and maybe flow into a movement. I talk at the end of the book about a new political movement, which I call the human political movement. So there you go, bro. There's like 7 minutes of Jeff Burningham. Too much, too much. We went from tantric sex to the human political movement. I mean, we covered it all already. We can just drop the mic right now and be done.
No, there's some ambitious things at the end of the book. And let me just say this about the book. One, I highly suggest you read it to the listeners. Two, it is not like any book you've probably ever read. It's not a story. It's not straightforward. It jumps around a lot. There's lots of chapters to it. At the end of every chapter, there are prompts that say, think about this. Here's questions to ask yourself. Here's some things you should think about as you process what you just read. And I really liked that part of the format. I'm a guy that likes to think. I like to be educated when I'm making decisions. And, I always say, it's too bad you didn't know me when I was 20, because I was so smart when I was 20. I knew everything. You didn't even have to ask me. That's how smart I was. I would just tell you I knew everything. And I've got
we can ask our 20-year-olds now and they think the same, right?
Exactly.
I have a 21-year-old, but yeah.
I've gotten a lot dumber over the years. As it turns out, I don't know anything. And there's lots of people that know lots of things, but everybody's pretty much still trying to figure it out. It doesn't matter where you're at in life. And that was one of the things I appreciated about your book. Is I was talking to my wife about this the other day, and like you, I've been married to my wife for a long time, 32 years. And I've made great decisions. I've made terrible decisions. I've had things go really well for me. I've had things go terribly for me. One thing I got right out of the gate was picking the person I was going to spend my life with. That just fell into place. And I tell people all the time, that is by far the most important decision you will ever make. And you want to be sure and smart about it. Like I read you, I was very similar. Like my wife and I was like lightning. Like it was, I had been dating a girl for 3 years, 2 of them long distance, and she dumped me the night before I was coming home. And I, sat around feeling sorry for myself for a couple of days. And my friends came and got me and said, "Hey, that's enough. Time to get back out in life." I met my wife that night, going out with my friends.
Oh my goodness.
My wife. Yeah. And we were supposed to be a summer fling. We were supposed to just, spend a little time together. I was leaving. I also played team athletics. I played baseball through college. I went to Nevada, Reno on a baseball scholarship. And actually, University of Utah offered me a scholarship. They were like 4-43 or something the year before. I was like, nah, I think I'm looking around.
Thanks. That's typical of those Utes. Forget the Ute. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Well, I actually saved both ends of a doubleheader on my 21st birthday against BYU. So that's my link to BYU.
Congratulations. Yeah. Man, that's cool.
This was back back before electricity.
Yeah, two things you said I think are really important. Can I just double tap
Yeah,
on them
go
real
ahead.
quick?
Go
Number
ahead.
one, absolutely. Most important decision anyone will ever make is the person that they're going to spend the rest of their life with. Do it wisely, be intuitive, follow your intuition, but do your due diligence and once you've made the decision, lean in with your whole heart and soul. You have no idea the ride. If you would have told Sally and I the journey we've been on, that I was going to build these billion-dollar companies, that I was going to run for governor, that I was going to write this weird book when I was 40 about humanity and AI, we would have said, no, no way, no way. Anyways, you just don't know what's coming. And those are some, I guess, highlights and lowlights, but there's also lowlights along the path. I mean, existence, we seem to learn humans through pain. And AI is a crucible that we now must go through together. And you're going to have moments of pain. The other thing I wanted to say was, oh, I can't remember. So let's just keep flowing. What was the other such wise thing that you said to begin with? I don't recall, but let's keep going.
Yeah, if it pops back in your head, just interrupt me. That's what I love about our podcast. It's like a couple of buddies talking at the bar. Like, I know you're
Yeah.
Mormon and you don't drink. However, you get the concept.
Yeah. However, I might have eaten a mushroom
Yeah.
once or twice, you know.
Yeah, that was
You're-
what that when I got to that part of the book, I was like, okay, this is taking turns I did not expect it to take. So
Well, I'm glad that you felt it was unexpected and familiar. There are a lot of chapters, but they're very short chapters. It's meant to be. In fact, I just spoke at a lunch up in Park City, and a really well-known guy, a good friend of mine, just said, I started your book and I read it in one sitting because I couldn't put it down. Anyways, that felt good because it was meant to be quippy. It was meant to keep clicking along. And I'm glad that you found the prompts at the end of the chapters valuable as well. I mean, that's what we do with AI, right? We're prompting AI in either wise or unwise ways. And we should be careful about how we're interacting with the quote unquote with the machine, you know?
yeah. And tying into that, one of the things I will say, and I know you'll agree with me on this, so it's really more of a statement than a conversation, but AI doesn't have oxytocin. AI doesn't have the memory of the moonlight on their now wife, then girlfriend's hair when you were walking and talking at night, getting to know each other. AI doesn't remember laying in the backyard with their son looking up when he was 5, looking up
At the stars.
at the sky, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of what Jeff's book does. Is it challenges us to stop thinking about ourselves in terms of what we do and think about ourselves truly in terms of who we are or who we are supposed to be. And
Yeah.
that doesn't have anything to do with your job. It doesn't have anything to do with your material possessions. It doesn't have anything to do with anything other than the essence of who you are as a person. And I thought that permeates the book. And I thought it's a great perspective to have as we move into this new chapter where AI is, kind of growing it, and it's growing its intelligence and its capabilities at an exponential rate.
Yeah.
And where that leads us, who knows? But it's up to us where it leads us,
Amen.
which is kind of what you're challenging people to think about.
Absolutely. Like AI isn't a technology quote unquote problem. It's a human problem. I talk about in the book, I believe AI is just a cosmic mirror to humanity. It literally just takes all data that it can possibly ingest, all data, by the way, created by humans.
Yeah.
And it takes all of that and then how you interact with it and then just provides a reflection. It reflects back to you the best and the worst of human data. And so a reflection can be a powerful thing. Now, it gives us a chance to pause, to reflect, and to pivot and change where we need to change. And again, Joe, I don't know how you feel. I can literally look out my window here within 10 minutes of where Charlie Kirk was assassinated. I can see where it happened. I was speaking there a week before to the former governor, other political dignitaries about my book, and at several hundred students. And so, man, it's incumbent upon us to solve these problems and to hopefully point AI towards human flourishing and not human division. That I wanted, I've never, I wanted to write a book that elevated the conversation a little bit. I was kind of sick of, I've made a couple dozen AI investments as a venture investor, but
Mm.
um, that's not what it's about. It's not about making money, gaining power, or control. This is a cosmic mirror for humanity, and it's an opportunity for us to change, to choose. I'm going to speak simply here and a little to choose love. Um, that's why it's here, and it's up to us to choose that every day as humans, as individuals. So that starts individually, and then those individuals' decisions can spread to the collective, to all of humanity. So yeah, and I get why you have to start with the question of like, who are you? I totally get it. I hate that question. I've been asked it 1,000 times in my life, but I love what you said, Joe. And let me just say, I'm not really Jeff Burningham. I mean, I am right now. You're not really Joe Canfield. You are right now. But I believe, and I'm speaking to every listener, that a much more relevant fact and a much more, let's say, lasting or eternal fact is our divine unity. Like who we are underneath the labels, who we are outside of, let's say, this character or this personality or who we are right now. And it's this divine unity that can bring us together that we need to lean into and remember in the age of highly intelligent machines.
Yeah. And I think about it. So I'm sure you're familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Yeah.
I filter a lot of things in life through Maslow's hierarchy of needs, not dissimilar to you. I've been involved in a lot of businesses and I've negotiated a lot of things and met a lot of people, et cetera, et cetera. And I feel like one of the reasons I've been successful at that is because I'm not judgmental. I try to understand what's motivating someone. I try to understand what is driving their thought process because they bring a different set of experiences to the table, and those experiences are going to change the way they see the world. At least they'll see it differently than I see it because of the set of experiences they bring when we're interacting with each other at that point in time. And so, like from Maslow's hierarchy of needs, I was thinking about after I read your book, I was thinking about it in those terms. And what if we could get, for those that aren't familiar with it, Maslow's hierarchy of needs says people, human beings, focus on their most uh, primal needs first: air, water, food. And then as you satisfy those needs, you can move up this pyramid that he's developed with, I don't know where it's at now. There's been several revisions to it, but the top is typically self actualization, right? What if we could use AI to take care of the first two or three rungs of Maslow's hierarchy of needs so nobody had to worry about paying their bills? Nobody had to worry about where the food was coming from. Nobody had to worry about if we were going to have fresh water or, the things that we need to stay alive and exist as human beings. And what if we could get everybody to the fourth or fifth level of Maslow's hierarchy of needs together? What could we
Yeah.
accomplish if we did that while listening to and respecting each other? And that's kind of how I thought about the end of your book when you were kind of laying those challenges out around government, around business, around education, and like like I'm not a socialist in any way, shape, or form, but I love the concept of socialism. I just live in the real world. No, it doesn't work. But I would love if we could accomplish those goals in some way. And maybe there's an opportunity for us to do that now with this technology that's never existed before.
Amen. I think that we need to look at human flourishing in a new way in the age of AI, like you said, and you mentioned it 5 or 10 minutes ago. But when a machine can do so much of what we're used to doing better than we can, what are we left with? We're left with our essence, with our being. We aren't human doings. I'll tell you, there's a time in my life, and I kind of outline it in the book, where I was addicted to doing.
Mm,
And I was addicted to that because I thought if I did more, I could be more.
hmm
But that's just not true, and that is not the case. The truth is, what we're all looking for is not outside of us. We don't need outside validation. We don't need the fancy car. It's not about outward success. What we're really looking for is inside each one of us. I think I say in the book, that's like the most cliche of cliches. It's on bumper stickers and posters with kittens, rolling around. What you need is inside of you or whatever. But let me just say another thing that I say to my students at BYU is the most powerful ideas are often the most simple and therefore the most neglected. And this is one of them. And I'll just tell you, I climbed my little mountain of success. I built and built. I did everything that I thought I should do, and I overdid it. I went over and above and beyond. And I talk about in the book how what I found at the top of the mountain is a cold howling wind. Void, and more void on top of that. So it actually wasn't about all the doing. What I realized, where do you go from the top?
right.
There's only one place to go, which is down.
Yep.
Down, back down the mountain, through the valley of the shadow of death, picking up little pieces of life that are maybe a little tattered or broken based on the pace that you were keeping in your addiction to doing. And then to go inside yourself, to face your reflection, to face the work that we all have to do collectively. But, we all have specific trauma, specific programming that we need to look at more clearly and to overcome in order to show up as our best selves in all that we do. Look, Joe, as long as we're embodied on this earth, there's going to be enough doing to be done. We have to eat, we have to sleep, we have families, we have jobs. We have to work out, like there's enough doing. But what being? And I'd ask your listeners, how much of your being are you really bringing to your doing? How much presence do you have in your life in all that you're doing? And I'll just tell you that I had lost some of that. I don't know how much. It felt like quite a bit. I had lost that, and I had to come back to myself to regain that, to transform and latch back onto my being. And that's a powerful process. It's a transformative process. And I'm speaking about this because this is the general high level process or idea that this is what AI is going to push us through. It's going to push us to transform as humans, as individuals, and then take that transformation and evolve our institutions. And that's where, like you said, kind of the book ends up. And this is a journey that we all must take. It's kind of it's the heroic journey that we all face. And it can be a painful one. Let me just tell you from personal experience, despite my outward success and blah, 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 who cares about my resume? I have my own pain and trauma, and it's real. I need to face it with ease, love, and grace instead of hate and division. And that's a tall task.
Yeah, especially to oneself. It's when I say oneself, right? The self-loathing and the self-hate and we're so much more forgiving of others than we are of ourselves. And that's something
Yeah.
that we have to change. And my wife, um, she's by far the most. I loved how you talked about your wife in your book because I just related
Thanks.
to it. It was like, well, he's just never met my wife, or he'd feel that way about my wife.
Yeah.
She just is by far the most emotionally intelligent person that I've ever met. And she has said for a long time, you have to feel and experience loss and sadness because you can't understand what joy and happiness is without feeling the loss and sadness. And we as a society want to kind of excuse that or push people through it or give them ways to feel better.
Shortcuts. Yeah.
Many times, the
This is where
best.
addiction comes from,
Yeah.
oftentimes. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
They're like shortcuts to dealing with this pain. Keep going. Sorry.
No, you got it exactly right. And she says you've got to sit with it. You've got to
Yeah.
confront it. You've got to deal with it, and you've got to allow it to happen until you're good with it. Like that's the only way to truly get past something is to deal with it. And it's brilliant.
Have you passed my book to your wife, Joe?
I have not yet.
Come on, man. She's gonna love it. She's gonna love it. You got to pass that along.
I was telling her about it today because I was going over my schedule with her, and I said I've got a very interesting interview tonight,
Yeah.
talking about you, and so that's one of the things I really loved about your book was you talked, and I was hoping you talk more about this now. But you've been in the Mormon Church your entire life. You're a bishop. You're a leader, and you talked about changing your approach at a certain point where you felt like you were being judgmental towards people instead of mentoring and helping people. What was that thought process like? How did you come to that realization, and what did you change as you counseled people or worked with people after you came to that realization? I think there's a lot of value there.
I appreciate that. Yeah, let me talk about that before, if I could just say one thing, because
Yeah, go ahead.
the present is all we have. The past is the past. And although we all have things that we would like to change in the past, we can't. So instead of ruminating on a past that we cannot change, I mean, we need to learn our lessons from the past, that's collectively and individually. But the rumination, the shame and guilt, I often say to my 14-year-old, he's a freshman in high school, he's a good basketball player, and a good student. But when I can see, I say, I won't say his name, but I say, hey, what's your self-talk? What is the talk in your head? Don't ruminate in the past and hash over what you wish you would have made that shot. You wish that would have been different. You can't change that. And this is very important in the age of AI, we project into an unknown future. And all of our fear builds up into an unknown future, which creates massive anxiety inside of us.
100%.
When really all that we have is right now, Joe. And I'll just say the future doesn't exist. It's a fiction, quote unquote. It only exists in the present moment. We never can, I mean, as long as we're embodied souls on this earth, we can't project ourselves into the future. We can't take this body and take it into the future. Our body keeps us grounded in the present and reminds us that we only get to the future in every present moment. So bring your best to every present moment. I tell my students, the sneaky way to success, especially in the digital era of technology that we're living in, is to bring your very best present self to every moment, period. If you start stacking those present moments, bringing your best being to each present moment, that is the biggest magnifier we can possibly have. So I just want to say that, I was a very young bishop in my church. A bishop is, I think I said in the book, it's kind of in the Mormon church, it's kind of like a CEO plus preacher plus priest, minus the pay. And you kind of get the idea of what a bishop was. I was very young, 27 or 28. I did it for 5 years. And one of the jobs of a Mormon bishop, like a priest, is to hear confessions, to help people through challenges, to repent. It was a very transformative experience. I was very young. I think I had 1 or 2 children, and they were, like 3 and 1 year old. I mean, I I had very little experience, and I had people, I was in charge of a neighborhood congregation. It's all geographic in our church, meaning you have a geographic area that you're over. There's about 500 members, ages 0 to close to 100, and you listen to confessions. And I remember as a young man, I was not ready for what I was about to hear. What I realized, and I'm in Provo, Utah, kind of where BYU is part of the heart of the church. And what I realized is that almost everything good and everything bad, quote unquote, is happening in every neighborhood around the world. We don't know about it, but it is. And so as people came to, that was a heavy burden for a young guy like me. And I was trying to figure out how to handle this. And I remember kneeling down. I'd often close my little office door, my bishop's door, kneel down and pray, turn the lights off. I don't know why. I was like hiding from what was about. I'd sit in council with these people for 5 to 10 hours every Sunday. Turn the light off, and I caught a glimpse. I was kneeling down to pray or getting up, I think, actually standing up from praying. And I caught a glimpse of Jesus, a picture of Jesus in my office. And I just thought, I'm not here to judge. I don't need to be one of the roles of a bishop in the Mormon church. It's called a common judge in Israel. It's a biblical term, but you kind of judge and help. And I said, instead, I'm going to call myself a repentance coach. Like, this isn't about judgment. Jesus didn't judge anybody. The only people he railed against actually were the hypocritical leaders of the day in the establishment that were causing harm to humanity. That's who he went against. Anyone else, he forgave and did so, in an amazing way. And so that changed me because I realized I wasn't there to judge. I was there to, and I knew that, but it hit me even more deeply at this moment. I'm there to love. I'm there to counsel. I'm there to point a way. And by the way, and I'm talking from a Christian tradition, to point people to Jesus, their higher selves, what the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, Buddha. I'm there to point them in a higher direction and then help them along that path. And like I said, I coined the phrase like repentance coach. There's thousands of bishops around the world. I've known a lot of them. I've never heard another bishop call themselves that, but it felt more true and in alignment to service and to where my heart was at. And so, yeah, I'd meet with young and old all during my tenure as a bishop and try to point the way to Jesus, to their higher selves, to forgiveness, to repentance, and just tried to coach that, And so that was a turning point in my life and something that a very meaningful experience. My ideas around faith and religion, et cetera, have changed as I've grown. I think that's normal and fine, but I'm really grateful for the faith tradition that I was born in. I think I say in the book, almost all faith traditions, almost all, are wonderful, and all of them, 100%, are flawed. None of them are perfect.
That's right. Yeah.
They're all pointing us somewhere. And so, yeah, despite the flaws in my background and my family and my programming, my church, I'm really grateful for the background that I had. And there's a lot of good in it too,
Yeah, for sure. And I just think that moment stuck out to me because it's very applicable to where we're at now as a society. I think it would be good for all of us to kind of revisit our own humanity and revisit what it means to be a human. And, our audience knows I do an intro call with everyone before they come on the podcast, just so I can get a sense of who they are, what we want to talk about, et cetera, et cetera. Jeff and I happened to talk the day that Charlie Kirk was assassinated. That was the day we did our intro call.
Yeah.
And there was already people that were celebrating a murder. And it just was so disheartening to me that regardless of how there's no circumstance under which celebrating the death of another human being feels right to me. Like it just doesn't. And
No, I agree.
it's this has nothing to do with whether I agree or disagree with Charlie Kirk. I did not follow Charlie Kirk. I was not
Yep.
any of those things that you want to fill in here to dismiss what I'm saying. The point here is, I think Jeff's book, this is the call to action coming out of Jeff's book is what is it that you are doing to be in touch with yourself and kind of maximize your existence for humanity? Like how do we,
Absolutely.
yeah,
We have to understand that the AI that we mainly work with now, I'll call it the almighty algorithm of social media, is divisive.
yeah,
There are large institutions that benefit from division, political parties, media, social media, legacy media. We need to understand that as humans, we're not stupid. Like this, they cater to base desires.
yeah,
We have to ask ourselves, do we want to go there? Do we want to follow where the algorithm takes us just kind of mindlessly and flow into division, which from reading the book, Joe, you probably know, I feel is largely illusory.
that's right.
Like the things that divide us, the diversity in the world is meant to make this existence interesting. It's meant to make it beautiful. We're all different. Like, and that's beautiful. That's great, but it does not have to be our collective undoing. And you see that undoing and that unwinding kind of occurring even more frequently every day. So, what are we going to do? This is the reflection that is being shown to us right now. What are we going to do? Are we going to lean into this illusory division? White, black, rich, poor, Mormon, atheist, or Christian atheist, blah, conservative, liberal.
Right.
Or are we going to realize that's beauty and diversity? People are free to choose what they want, to make good choices. And unless they're trying to inflict harm, our job is to realize that we are all fellow travelers, that no matter our differences, we always share whenever we're with another human being, Joe. Like when I'm here with you right now, no matter our differences, we both have a badass haircut. I like it. Like I've got a stash, you don't. I don't know why. You should have more of one. Mine's big, whatever. Like there's a lot of differences, but again, that's beautiful and that's diversity. No matter those differences, though, we always share more in common when we're with another human being. Those those differences don't need to undo us. They don't need to cause us to have fear or hate. I call this in the book the old game, and I encourage humanity to go towards what I'm calling a new game, which is much more based on unity and understanding that no matter our differences, we are all fellow travelers in this existence, and we have more in common than we do not. Whenever we're with another human being, I've traveled to 60 countries around the world, over 60, and I've been a lot of places doing business for fun, for everything. And I'll just tell you, I no matter where I go, I see that we are all a lot more alike than we are different.
Yeah. And it's so I loved reading that in the book. It's something I preach, and I'm not a religious guy in any way, shape, or form, for what it's worth. That's neither here nor there. It's just a statement of fact. But I preach that a lot, that we have so much more in common with people. And it's all around us if you stop and look. Our family was in Chicago one time for a birthday celebration, and we were on the L in Chicago because we were going to dinner. And it was like 5:30, 6 o'clock at night. So the L was busy. And, a lot of people live in Chicago. So that meant that there was more people than seats. And when people wanted to get on, people had to scrunch together. When people wanted to get off, you had to get out of their way. It was like 5:30, 6 o'clock at night. I remember looking around, and there was all walks of life. There was people in suits and people in tattered clothes. There was old people, there was young people, there was people of all races. When somebody needed to get on, people helped them. When there was someone that needed a seat, someone who didn't need the seat stood up and gave it to the old man with the walker or the pregnant woman or whoever. And everybody worked together so everybody could get where they were going. And I just remember thinking, we need to publicize this way more than all the other bullshit that we publicize on a regular basis, because this is how the vast majority of the people in our country feel about each other. This is how the vast majority of people in our country work with each other and interact with each other on a regular basis. And like Jeff's saying, just start ticking off things you have in common. Who doesn't want a happy family? Who doesn't want good things for their children? Who doesn't want good experiences for the loved ones around them? Who doesn't want a safe community? Who doesn't want to spend time with people that they like and care about? Literally everybody wants all of those things that I just talked about. And so because you disagree on whatever, insert inflammatory subject here, gun control. So that's the dividing line. That's the I can't ever see you as a human being again because we disagree on that. And that's what I loved about your book, is it kind of is a call to action on we're at an inflection point here. And the other thing I loved about it, when you think, at least when you made me think about it, I think a lot of the technology that's been developed over the last 15 years has actually net been negative for society. So like it's good. Like I love that. So like you're in Utah, I'm in Ohio. We're able to have this conversation. That's awesome. However, if you go through whatever, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, whatever your platform of choice is, you get fed a lot of stuff because they know that if you don't like it, you'll interact with it more. And that's not real life. That's not the real world. Could we use this new technology, which very well could replace a lot of the technology that we're dealing with now? Could we use it to make it a net positive, which is your call to action in the book, right? I mean, that's it.
It is. Yeah. And my answer is yes, period. Now, how do we do that? And, or is that likely, you might ask? Like, I know a lot of people are feeling down right now, for good reason. It feels hopeless sometimes. Let me just say another interesting thing about humans. We seem to need pain in order to change. Like pain is a transformative power in our lives. And so in this book, it's the bull case for AI. It's how humans can use AI to flourish. But I don't want to, that's not going to be easy. There aren't easy answers. It might not even be likely, let me say. However, some things are worth our best efforts, Joe, no matter the outcomes. So it's incumbent on me, it's incumbent on you, it's incumbent to all your listeners to do the very best they can, to focus on this unity, this love, this beauty that resides in humanity. This is one of the benefits that I think actually AI will provide for us, and it already is. AI is doing a lot of what we're used to, but it feels flat. It doesn't feel human. It's because it's almost too perfect. So my point in that is to say, there is beauty in the mess. It's going to remind us that there's beauty in this mess of working things out. In working out our political differences, there's beauty. In working out our relationship differences, there's beauty in that mess because it brings about change and transformation. So anyways, yes, of course, I believe that AI can do that. The question is how we do that. And what I encourage readers, I'll try to be real brief here because I could talk for like an hour about this, but I encourage them to use the cosmic mirror that is AI to get still and sit with themselves, to do their own work, to lean into their own heroic journey, to correct their programming, to change it in ways that are beneficial for them and for those that they love, and then to bring that to the world. And they do that through schools and education, which we talk about that. There's a chapter about reforming religion. There's a chapter, like you said, about conscious capitalism. And and then we talk about politics. And so there's not a better way than that. That's how we do this. And it takes, a majority or a big portion of humanity to opt into, again, what I call this new game that I think we need to pivot to in the age of AI in order to, I might even say, survive, but even to flourish. We need to pivot to like this new game. And that's the awareness and the conversation that I'm trying to spark and start. And I see it happening. It's slow and steady. There's a couple good days and then a bad day, whatever the case may be. But this is the work that's in front of us. It's the work that I think we're built for. This is the message, in my opinion, of the moment. And whether in 2025, if it doesn't feel like that, it's going to feel like that in a year, two, three. This is the message for our moment. How do we ensure that as our machines become more and more intelligent, we as humans become more wise and then use that wisdom in our day-to-day lives and our interactions, big and small, to make this world a better place?
Yeah. And from my perspective, I would bet that the answer is a whole bunch of little things. And you had talked about it earlier about, being your best self at every moment and bringing your best self to every interaction. I call that the compound interest of life because people understand compound interest as it relates to money. But if you just keep showing up and doing your best and doing your best, that compound interest of life builds up. And then pretty soon you see your life go this way. And when I talk about little stuff, so I was fortunate I played baseball at a high level. And one of the things that struck me as I kept moving up was the way we were coached. You would think that as you kept going up, things got more and more complicated. It's the exact opposite.
Yeah,
They
simplify.
hammer, yeah, they hammer you on basics for hours, days, weeks. And it's all of the simple little things that I think can bring us back for humanity. You shared in your book a beautiful story about a moment with your daughter on the beach. I was hoping you could talk a little about that because I think it fits exactly what we're talking about here.
Yeah, I was busy. I was running a multi-billion-dollar private equity firm with two partners. I was investing around $100 million in venture capital. I was made a bishop at this time of a local congregation of 500. I was a young father to three. And my business partner and I, who's one of my best friends, we decided to take an ambitious spring break. For at least that time, we flew from Salt Lake to Phoenix, rented a Sprinter van with our families, drove across the border into Mexico, landed on the beach, and the vacation was beautiful in all the ways it should be. We were in the ocean and having a great time with our kids and in nature. And towards the end of that, towards the end of that trip, I could still see my daughter. She was like 11 months old. And I asked my wife, I was in the pool playing with my boys. I have three boys and one daughter. And I asked Sally to hand her to me. And she had this pink polka dot bathing suit, actually white polka dots, pink bathing suit, her wispy blonde hair. She has a kind of a trademark birthmark on her cheek, crystal green eyes. I remember holding her in the pool, looking at her eyes, and she couldn't talk, but this is what she said to me. She was like, "Daddy, like, are you here with me? Where have you been?" I had largely missed the first 11 months, I could say, of her life because I had been caught up in what I would say is the thick of thin things. I was doing important things. I was building companies. I was serving other people. I was whatever I was doing, but nothing was more important in that moment and going forward than to be with my daughter, to be there for her. And I'll just say that tears streamed down my cheeks in this pool. No one noticed because it was just wet all over. But I just looked at my daughter and I said to her, like, I'm here. I will never leave you. I'm with you. I will make sure to reprioritize things so that I don't miss any part of your life. That daughter, by the way, I just dropped off at college a month ago. And, I've done my damnedest to be the best dad I can be, to be present with my children, to, help them in any way I can, to lead and guide them in wisdom's paths, I'd say. But yeah, that was a reckoning. And I say in the book that so often these transformative moments, number one, we miss them if we're not present. But number two, they don't come in meditation and prayer, although or going to church or whatever you may do, although those are good practices. They come through quiet moments like this. And when we have quiet, reflective moments, when we're still within ourselves, we can feel the flow of the universe. We can feel our higher selves more clearly, and we can choose to follow that. And that becomes a daily practice. It's not like the journey ends at that moment and the decision's been made. That is decided every day from there on out. And yeah, that was a touching story. The book is on Audible, by the way. I read it all. And I was surprised because there's a lot of very vulnerable stuff in my book, a lot of emotional things. But it was actually that moment, this story, Joe, that you just prompted, that I get emotional, and you can hear it on the audiobook. I'm just holding my daughter, and it makes me emotional to even just think about it. Those are the precious things that we need to hold on to. And like you said, AI can't feel that. Remember that. It's a machine. It may be great at remembering everything. It may be awesome at recognizing patterns in huge amounts of data. It may be able to give you great information for school, for, whatever, for work, for whatever you're working on. But it doesn't feel like that. It doesn't know the pain and the joy, the agony and ecstasy of God, quote unquote, I would say, that we do as humans. And yeah, that was a transformative moment for me.
Yeah, I love that. And I appreciate you sharing it. I know it's in the book and people can read it for themselves, but I look at AI as if we do it right, which is kind of, again, your challenge, it enables more moments like that. Because think about what we could do if we were able to spend our time focused on the things and the people that we genuinely felt the most passion about and felt the most purpose about. And I just think that story fits perfectly into that part of the conversation.
Absolutely. And again, this is one of the paradoxes and blessings of AI. If this machine can do more and more of what we're used to doing, it hopefully allows us to be more, to lean into our being, to have moments like this, to return to ourselves, to look inside, to do our work, and to create art. I viewed this book as my little piece of art, like an offering to the divine. If I hope you felt this, Joe, you did some, I'm sure. If you knew the blood, sweat, and tears I put into this book, like it's either, I mean, I kept saying this is embarrassing, like how much time I'm sinking into this. Or, by the way, on the other hand, it's extremely admirable because I was giving my best to this little piece of art. And my point in saying that is to say, everyone has a book inside of them. Everyone has a podcast or some piece of art that they want to create. Many people, most people, I'd even say, don't feel like they have time to do that. They can't right now. They can't really do that. In the age of AI, I think more and more of us will have more time to express our little pieces of art and to bring more art and beauty into the world. And that's exciting. That's one of the blessings of AI, or it could be.
Yeah, for sure. Have you, so clearly there's going to be cynical, skeptical people. Have you encountered any of those that have shared their opinions after they've read
Yeah.
your book yet?
I have. I'll just say, man, it has resonated. Just go look at the Amazon reviews. I'm a first-time author. I'm fairly well known in Utah. I ran for governor and I'm a well-known entrepreneur. But Utah's a small state, about 4 million people. Um, I'm a first-time author, non-celebrity. Just go look at the reviews. They're almost longer than the book. I'm kidding, but I mean, people are pouring their heart out. I'm still getting messages. I released the book 6 weeks ago, 7 weeks ago. I'm still getting messages every day from people that are really resonating with it. Anyways, so I'm so grateful for that because that keeps me going. But I would say, somewhere between 5 to 10% of the responses have not been positive. Sadly, and most unfortunately, I haven't spoken to my parents since I released the book. They're not happy about it for some reasons. I'm not exactly sure why. I could guess, but that's painful for me. Again, that's part of what I'm trying to work through. And it's not just them. There are a handful of others, friends. It's interesting. I had a friend from the past. He's like an acquaintance that I went to my freshman year of school with. And he sent me this text, I don't know why, out of the blue saying, "Hey, I read your book and basically it's BS or I don't like it." And I just said, "Hey man, thanks for reading the book and I appreciate you letting me know your thoughts." Heart smiley emoji. What else can I do? Like we have to face this era of AI. We have to face our own pain and challenges with as what I say in the book is as much ease, love, and grace as possible. That's really easy to talk about on a podcast where you and I are comfortable hanging out. The sun is shining. It's not too hot in here. We're well fed, obviously. Like things are good. We got our water. It's when the rubber meets the road, when your parents ignore your heart and soul, when they don't see you, they don't understand you. And it doesn't have to be your parents, it could be anyone. This happens to all of us. But how do we show up in those moments of grief? How do we show up in those moments of pain? That's the work that we have to do. And that's the good stuff, quote unquote, that we need to feed to AI. We need AI to understand the human condition as much as it can without being embodied in human, so that it can help us in a positive way, so that it can point us towards human flourishing. If we feed it hate and garbage and how do I destroy this and do that, that's what it reflects back to us. But if we feed it love, if we're using it in thoughtful ways and in, our own, I quote unquote, awakening, I think it can be helpful in that regard. It has for me. And that's one thing I want to say. I thought about it 15 minutes ago, just real quick. One other thing. This book is about spiritual awakening. Did you sense that or feel that, Joe?
100%. Absolutely.
And that's a journey that I think we're all on in our own paths and in our own ways. I'm not advocating for any certain path. In fact, I think the only quote unquote right path for you is your path, not your parents, not your friends, not your spouses, even. It's your own path.
Yeah, I can vouch for that too. And you might think, if you haven't read the book, and I think a lot of people might think, oh, well, Jeff's a Mormon, so he's going to take that path. Nothing could be further from the truth. I did not, other than you stating factually that was the church you were a member of, I got zero tinges of any denominational steering or faith in the book. I'm not saying you don't have that faith. I'm saying that has nothing to do with what you wrote about.
Well, this awakening, this is what I want to say. Spiritual awakening is about simplifying. You talked about the baseball metaphor. That's a metaphor for life. And by the way, that's a metaphor for any expert in any field. It's not about adding more. It's about simplifying and doing less. And so is spiritual awakening. It's not about adding a whole new paradigm, a whole new framework. It's actually about gracefully letting go of, I'll say, the bullshit that you think is true or right, that you've breathed in, just like it's in the air. You could take being versus doing here. Doing was just in the air of the culture. I grew up in the Western US, a highly capitalistic country, which I love, a hard driving religion, a hard driving family. I'm the oldest. Like everything was against me, quote unquote, in terms of being. I breathed in this doing, but I'm also able to now, as a middle-aged guy, and hopefully earlier, you can recognize that and let that go. Awakening is about shedding. It's about reprogramming and deprogramming. This is another advantage that humans have over AI. AI theoretically can't like just reprogram or deprogram itself, at least not yet. Um, it, but we can. We can choose that, and that's the heroic journey that we're all on. And I don't know. I feel like I'm getting a little too philosophical here, preaching a little bit, but these are thoughts. Take them for what you want. I mean, humanity's the only thing on the line. I mean, no big deal.
Yeah, but I think that's the discourse that's worth having, right? We get so mired down in, like, I call it majoring in minor things. People love to major in minor things. And the busyness.
Everyone has their favorite minor things. Everyone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like the busyness, like a full calendar is like a loss. And so many people
Yeah.
look at it like, look how busy I am. That's a loss. That is a loss.
I agree.
And
Yeah.
I loved how you broke down the chapter. There's one chapter on nature in there, and that's one of the things when people are struggling or trying to make sense of things, it's one of the very first things I tell them to do. Get outside. Get
Yeah.
outside, let the sunlight hit your skin, let the wind hit your face, listen to the sound of the birds or the running water. Uh, feel the grass underneath your feet. If you're a barefoot person, I think there's a lot of value in that. Walk in nature. There is something so grounding about that, and it kind of recenters you and brings you back to what your existence is actually about. And look, I it'd be hard to find someone less touchy feely than me. I'm just not a touchy feely
Get
guy.
out of here, bro. Shut up, Joe. Come on. My goal is to make you cry during
Yeah,
this podcast. Not just
right.
kidding.
Exactly. Exactly.
Sounds
But
like you felt something in the book, though. So,
but,
hey,
but I
that's
mean
good.
the whole thing about it is the you don't have to be touchy feely to recognize truths.
Yeah.
And the truth is, we are a part of a much larger ecosystem and a much larger picture and a much larger universe. And depending on your faith, a much larger existence than what is
Yeah.
going on here right now.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be touchy feely or devoutly religious to recognize those things. The other thing is, there's tons of empirical or anecdotal evidence. Jeff's a great example. So Jeff, super successful in business, ran for governor, blah, blah, blah. I have had lots of success in business. I was a successful athlete, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
We've both experienced a lot of success. When you hear two people that have experienced what we've experienced telling you, you got to pay attention to what it's really all about. I think you should listen. I think you should at least ask yourself these questions. Again, that my favorite part of your book was the prompts at the end of the chapters. I loved the
That's
prompts.
cool.
That was my
That's
favorite part of it by far.
Yeah, I've had a couple people tell me that, so I appreciate hearing that. And yeah, I talk about three universal teachers in the book, and they're simple. We all have them, and we need to lean into them. We all have a body, at least while we're here on the earth. And our body is wise beyond measure. We don't listen to our body. Most of us hate our bodies. We abuse them. Again, I've made a joke about our hair now a couple of times. I'm bald. So is Joe, if you don't know. Sexy as hell, baby. But the point is, like, I wish I had hair. I used to have blonde curls, but my body chose to not have that hair on the head. And so we judge our bodies. There's so much wisdom in our bodies. A lot of religious people are told their bodies are the enemy. They're not the enemy. That's not true. Our bodies can teach us a lot. Anyways, that's the first universal teacher. The second is actually our families and or human relationship. Our families aren't in the way. They're off. They often are the way. Now that's painful. I shared some things about mine. That's a lot of work, but we can lean into those relationships and learn no matter the family you have, unless it was obviously highly abusive and
Yeah.
completely toxic, of course. But other than that, there's no perfect family and there's lessons to be learned there. The third is nature. Nature is constantly showing us what actually really is. The rising and setting of the sun, the changes of the season. I believe that existence is one continuous cycle of life, death, and rebirth. That happens. The breath mimics this. Your breath. Every little thing like shows us what is, but these teachers are so like close to us that we often neglect them. We miss the lessons that they're trying to teach us. And, I think we do that to our own peril. And it's these simple teachers like nature that you brought up that we need to lean into in a digital world.
Yes.
And we are at grave danger of becoming increasingly disembodied as we spend more and more time in a AI, social media, digital world, a metaverse, quote, so to speak, that may or may not be coming, we become disembodied. Therefore, we disconnect ourselves from one of our greatest teachers that we absolutely have here on earth. So,
Yeah. And that comes through crystal clear in the book. If someone hasn't read your book before they read it, what would you how would you challenge them or counsel them to think before they read your book?
yeah, I don't know if I'd counsel them in any way. I think I would say come with an open mind. I was in New York for a photo shoot around the book several months ago, and an advanced reader copy was sitting on the dinner table at a restaurant with my wife and I. The waiter comes by, he looks at it, and he's like, the last book written by a human. That sounds so familiar. And the point is, I realized I said to Sally after he left, I'm like, that's exactly how I want people to feel.
Hmm.
There's something familiar here. There's something that I'm feeling that I may not even recognize or understand exactly, but I'm feeling it and I understand it. So, my point is come with an open mind, see if something feels familiar. If there are things you disagree with or you're not interested in, like we mentioned, like psychedelics, I understand that those can be a double-edged sword. They've been a great, the wise and legal use of psychedelics has been a great blessing in my life, but that's not for everyone. Some people they are, and some people they're not. But the point is, hold on to what feels true and helpful to you. Let go of the rest. Just let it go. We talked about shedding. Just shed it. Let it go. And so I guess that's what I counsel readers to do. I believe, and maybe this is because I have to believe it. I'd like to ask you this question actually. I believe that the fundamental, like, substrate of existence, even though there's so much pain and ugliness in the world, like your wise wife said, I think that pain is trying to transform us into more love. So I believe that love is the fundamental, like, substance of this existence. So, where can we find that love? Where can we express our love? How can we lean into this again, divine unity or consciousness or love that we're all a part of, this ocean of love, no matter our hardship. So, I don't have come in with an open heart and mind. Look for the good, the things that resonate with you, feel familiar, and let go of the rest. And
I
and
love
then
that.
actually, let me say one more thing, if I could, Joe. Sorry. And then do something about it. If you feel it, look, I'm a non-celebrity. I'm a first-time author. I think this message is potent and powerful. Obviously, I mean, I've sacrificed a lot to get this book out there. Um, Share it. Share it with a friend. Share it on social media. Leave a review. Joe, you've read the book. Please, sometime go to Amazon and just say 5 stars. I love this book. Whatever you want to do. I mean, that's how new people find it. So it's not probably just the most important thing is to get inside yourself and to let it sink in and feel familiar. Then once you have a little conviction, do whatever you think you should do in order to spread this message. Anyways, I don't know.
No, I love that. And the reason I asked that is because there's the concepts. I'm trying to think of the right way to say this. So I don't think the concepts are revolutionary at all, other than the fact that it's around a point in time where there's this very unique interaction between man and machine.
Yeah.
And machine that thinks and learns, doesn't feel, doesn't love, but it thinks and it learns. And so there's a very unique opportunity for us here as a species, which is essentially what Jeff's saying in the book. The answer to your question around the common fabric being love, I think that's 100% right. To me, that's about family and community. And
Yeah.
one of the ways I try to demonstrate this is so we incarcerate a lot of people in the United States. I think we incarcerate way more people than are necessary in the United States, but we do.
Yeah.
And what is the absolute worst punishment that someone can suffer in incarceration? Solitary confinement. Why is it the worst? Because you're alone. You have no human interaction. It is the worst punishment, supposed to be reserved for the worst behaved and or most dangerous people. But when you are removed from that human interaction and people that you care about and people that care about you, that's when you really start to suffer as a person. You can go through all sorts, like Jeff's talked about, losing the gubernatorial race in Utah. I can tell you that I've had business failures before where I thought things were going to go good and then they blew up in my face and I'm left holding a big bag of shit. And those are no fun. Those are terrible. Those suck. Jeff talked about when he started his fund and the timing of the real estate market. Like, it's not always fun. Those
Yeah.
things pale in comparison to your relationships and experiences with the people that you care about. And there's several awesome stories. I find them awesome. Like, you start the book off in the village in India, in the Ganges River, and kind of the cycle of life that you observed when you're there. You share a story about your trip, the rushed honeymoon with your wife in Venice, and sneaking over the fence, sneaking over the
Yeah.
fence,
Remember Venice, baby.
yeah,
Yeah.
with each other. And then it comes full circle because you meet and take a photo of a young Indian couple at Zion National Park who are
Yep.
from the village that you spent time in
Yep.
India. And all of those interactions are what make life worth living. And it's all those little experiences that make you who you are. And it's too easy to lose those things if we don't stay grounded. And
Yeah.
now is the time for us to get grounded and really think about where we go as a species when we've got this very unique opportunity right in front of us.
Yeah, and I would say grounded and present. We miss those when we miss those little synchronicities. We miss those little tender mercies, whatever you want to call them, if we're not present. We don't see them. And so I totally agree with that. The other thing I'd say is there's a whole chapter about relationships in the age of AI. What you just spoke about was human connection and community and relationships. And we're going to have to fight for those, Joe. Like I worry about my grandchildren. What happens when some of their best friends is a digital device that always takes their side,
Mm.
glazes them constantly. You're so handsome. You're always right. Yeah, you're brilliant. Um, like we're going to have to fight for real human relationships. I mean, fight might be the wrong word. What's a better word? We're going to have to work to stay in relationship because real relationships are transformational. And that's why we're here, I think, is to transform like I've said, more into love. That happens in real human relationship. That happens in real life activities. There's a chapter as well about reforming religion. And I said, what was the radical innovation of Jesus? Let me tell you, it was radical connection and community. I mean, he came in at a time of a lot of segregation, a lot of, all the things, and he offered the Eucharist or sacrament or communion to everyone, Jew and Gentile alike. I mean, this he was trying to model and mirror radical human community and connection. So while the nuns, meaning no religion, has been until recently kind of the fastest growing demographic, and although I think our religions need to be reformed and continue to evolve, I encourage people to go back to their faith traditions if they want to. And the reason I do that is we need human community and connection. So we need in real life experiences. So go to your neighborhood barbecue, go back to church, go to your running club, play pickup basketball, go knit. I mean, I'm making it with other people.
Yep.
I'm making up whatever you like to join a reading club. And by the way, the last book written by a human should be the first. No, I'm just kidding. Oh gosh. So like join the reading group, whatever. Like we gotta work for these in-person, in real life experiences that are getting a little slippery, a little hard to hold on to, a little less often. Obviously, COVID, I think, was a precursor to this. And yeah, man, it's on the road where the rubber meets the road. It's on the pavement. It's in the trenches where this work needs to be done. And I think AI can help us get better at all of this or a lot of this if we allow it to. There's massive upside and benefits to AI in terms of education and healthcare and other things as well, if we use it wisely, if we choose to use it wisely.
Yeah, I look at it as an enabler to it's funny, I did an episode. So we publish 5 episodes a week. We do 3 interviews a week and then we do 2.
5 episodes.
Yeah.
You're prolific, bro.
we don't play around here. If you're going to do something like you talked about, bring your best self to it, right?
Yeah, that's cool.
And I do 2 episodes where it's just me and I pick a topic and I cover a topic. And I did one this week that we released, and it was essentially making the argument that there's never been a better time to be a human being on the planet Earth than right now. And we kind of covered all of the metrics just in terms of life expectancy and access to plumbing and running water and medical care and et cetera, et cetera. And it's easy to lose sight of that. But if we utilize this technology to elevate that even further, and we talked about this a little bit earlier, where could we go as a society if we get that right? Like,
go ahead.
Fire away.
My bet and goal is on a renaissance in human consciousness in the next decade.
Yep.
That's what I'm working towards. So I'm the chairman, quote unquote, of all my companies now, which basically means I'm not needed, like I'm like the janitor. I'm a shoulder to cry on. I'm there for big strategic decisions, but I haven't been operating my companies since I ran for governor 5 years ago. And so I'm kind of pivoting my career a little here, whereas I started as this addicted doer in this high demand religion, all about results. I'm like becoming like this weird hippie artist author guy. and this is kind of a career pivot for me so I'm 48, like I said. I'm going to dedicate the last several decades of hopefully good health to this renaissance of human consciousness. I don't know exactly how that's going to play out. I hope it's not in politics. I hope it's around teaching and talking about these spiritual ideas. But my point is, I think that AI is going to cause more people to ask, wait a second, who am I? What is really going on here? Are we, quote unquote, in the matrix? Is this a simulation? I'm using kind of trendy terms right now. Like, what what is different about my human intelligence and the intelligence in this machine or in AI? Like, I think more and more people are going to ask these questions. Hopefully, they go inside, they find more clarity or answers. And I think there's going to be a renaissance in human consciousness. I think obviously AI can be a massive, I believe that talent is evenly distributed around the world, but opportunity is not. And largely that's because of education. But imagine if you're in a third world country without access to a good education, you have one of the smartest tutors in your pocket all day, every day.
Yep.
You can use AI to learn and level up. I'm speaking to young people. Um, Obviously, healthcare, like AI doesn't have to forget anything. There's actually power in forgetting. I talk about that in the book. We forget as humans, and there's power in that. All you have to do is have multiple babies, multiple kids, and you remember, oh, yeah, we forgot how hard the. Why did we do this again? I don't know why we did this again. Anyways, there's power in forgetting. AI doesn't have to forget. AI also could ingest all data and see patterns that humans just can't. It's too much data, it's too complicated, and that can lead to massive, obviously, benefits in terms of healthcare and other things. Anyway, I could go on and on. My point is, that's what I'm betting on. That's what I'm going to dedicate my life to. That's the rest of my career to. That's what I'm working on. I don't know exactly how that's going to play out. I'm letting the flow of the river Ganges, the Zion, the Virgin River in Zion National Park. I'm letting the river take me, and I'm trying to follow the flow of the universe. I'm trying to closely follow the heroic journey and call that I feel in my heart, and we'll see where we go from here. I think that's all any of us can do. Like, we can only bring our best efforts to what we feel inside, and leave it at that.
Yeah, for sure. That was my only complaint about the book is that chapter labeled The Virgin wasn't about what I thought it was going to be about. So
And it's actually like the outro. It's called Exit the Virgin. Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't. It's not. It's about the Virgin River
a
in
little bit of
Zion
false
National Park.
advertising. I'm just saying.
Dude, you got the tantric sex at the beginning, Joe. What else do you want from us? Gee, I bled my heart and soul into there. What? I mean, come on, give me a break.
No, that part was obvious. And look, my kudos to you for doing that too, because one of the things we preach on our podcast is be your authentic self. Don't be what society tells you they think you should be. Don't be what the people around you tell you they think you should be. Be what you truly feel you think you should be. And you'll wind up with the right people around you. You'll wind up at the right spot in the world. And that's how you build a happy and contented and meaningful life. And I think that was one of the reasons I was so excited about having you on the podcast is because you call out that we're at an inflection point where all of those things take on a heightened importance literally in human existence.
Yeah.
And we've got an opportunity here to control it. When I say control it, I mean to send ourselves in a good direction instead of
Yeah.
allowing ourselves to be dragged in a direction that's not good. So I love the call to action. I love that we were able to share it in front of our audience. So
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's good to be with you. Good to get to know you better. I've enjoyed our conversation, and I'm not hard to find on social media or just Google my name. My website, jeffburningham.com. I have very mixed feelings about social media, as you can understand, but I'm trying to go to where the people are. And so I'm at Jeff Burningham on almost every social platform. The book's available anywhere you can buy a book. It's on Audible now. Audible sales do not count for the New York Times list. And so Audible came out a month or so after I released the hardcover copy. But once you've read it, I want to hear from you. Reach out to me. Let me know your thoughts, good and bad or otherwise. And then let's see what we can do together. Let's build a more beautiful, like peaceful existence together. I think we can do that. And I think that AI can be a tool in helping us do that as well.
Totally agree. And you guys don't have to go far. We'll have a link to purchase Jeff's book on Amazon down in the show notes. So just go down to the show notes if you're interested in purchasing the book. Jeff, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Absolutely loved our conversation. Really enjoyed spending some time with you and really appreciative that we got to have you on the podcast.
Joe, it's my honor being with you. Honestly, man, thanks. I look forward to staying in touch.
Yes, me as well. Have a great night.
You too.
Okay. Jeff, outstanding, man. I loved it. Absolutely loved it.
Good. Yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed it. So did I. It was fun. Good to be with you. I meant everything I said. So
I don't say things I don't mean. I always tell people,
yeah.
people are like, "Are you say you're sorry?" I said, "I apologize when I'm sorry. I'm not sorry, so I'm not going to apologize." But
I love that. I need to use that sometimes.
yeah, yeah, every once in a while. But nah, super interesting subject. Really enjoyed it, and I will go on Amazon and leave a review and leave my thoughts. I don't
Thanks,
know why
man. I appreciate that.
I don't know why I didn't think of it before you suggested
Yeah,
it. So.
no, it's okay. Yeah, like it's just about getting the word out there and everyone does their little part. And I have to remind people, hey, here's how people ask me every day, how can I help? I say, man, leave a review, pass it on, tell a friend, buy it as a gift. I don't know, do whatever you can. But yeah, dude, I'd love to stay in touch. Let me know when the episode comes out, December 6th or otherwise. And yeah, I'll repost it. And yeah, if you want to talk again or whatever, I'm open to it. And or actually, here's what I'll say. If you know other podcasts I've been on about 60 podcasts in the last 5 weeks, a lot. But if there are other podcasts you know of that you think I should go on, just let me know. I'm happy to have intros or whatever.
Yeah, so two things. One, I'm going to put you on our follow-up list because as you kind of figure out what direction you're heading with this, I'd love to keep in touch and have more conversation about it down the road.
Okay.
And then I'm actually the guy I referenced, the younger guy that's really kind of deep into AI and thoughtful about AI. I'm a guest on his podcast tomorrow, so I'm
Yeah.
going to connect him with you because I think you would be a great fit. He's a great guy. He's a great kid. He's up in Canada and super intelligent kid, and I really like him a lot. It's one of those things where even though we're different generations, we just hit it off and became kind of friends kind of instantly. His name's
That's
Ayush.
awesome.
You'll love him. He's a great guy, but I'll
Cool.
get you guys connected.
Yeah, I'd love that. Thanks,
Yep.
man. I appreciate it. And yeah, let's stay in touch.
Yes, we'll do.
Dude, I love your questions. I love the good you're putting into the world. How has your podcast experience been? Like, I mean, are you happy with the results or what's happening? Is it going how you thought it would? Is it, I don't know.
Yeah, it's really picked up steam the last 4 or 5 months. So probably not a different experience to you writing the book. When I first started the podcast, it kind of felt like I was standing on my front porch yelling out into the street. But if you're consistent with, like you talked about, and we both know this from our experiences in life, if you're consistent, you do good work and you do good things, generally you wind up in a good spot. And
Yeah.
that's one of the reasons I was just tired of all the negativity because like it
Yeah.
wouldn't be hard for me. I'm quick on my feet. I'm witty. I can cut people down. I can be snarky, and I could have got millions of followers doing that. That did not interest me in any way, shape, or form. I really felt like, especially when I look at this younger generation, they're marrying much later. If they're marrying at all, they're not having kids, and they're missing what life is really about. And
Yeah.
I felt a responsibility to at least share my experiences and try to at least let them hear that. And I tried to do it in a way that's non-judgmental. And I'm not a judgmental guy. Like I picked that up from you too.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
not my
no.
place to judge other people. It's my place to listen and provide the experience that I have and let them use that in whatever way they see fit.
Yeah, man.
And so that's what we're doing with the podcast. And in the last 4 or 5 months, it's really started to take off. So we're pushing 3,000 subscribers now, and we're getting close to 100,000 views a month. And it's kind of starting up that hockey stick curve. So
Cool.
yeah, we're excited about it.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate it. Congratulations on the book.
Thanks, dude. I did all that I could. Let's keep doing it together. Let's try to help people. I love
Uh,
what you're doing.
Me too. Absolutely. We'll keep you on the follow-up list. And even without the follow-up list, if something big pops up and you want to come back on, just shoot me a note. We'll work in.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, Joe. Have a beautiful night.
Yeah, you too. Okay, guys, there you go. So, yeah, look, I just love authentic people who are thoughtful and who are looking to make the world a better place by interacting with other people in a positive way. And that's Jeff in a nutshell. Love his thoughts on the book. If you have not read the book, go down to the show notes, get a copy of the book. Super interesting. It's not like any other book you've ever read. It's not a story from start to finish. Like I said, I love the prompts at the end of every chapter. The prompts are thought provoking and will make you think about things differently. And I think it's a good time for us to think about things differently and what it means for us as a society as we kind of get closer and closer to these machines that can learn and think on their own. And what does that mean for us as people? And how do we maximize the benefit of this technology to elevate society and elevate civilization? So, super appreciative of having Jeff on. Stayed on with him for a little bit after the fact, and won't be the last time you see Jeff on Salty Ginger Talk. Really glad we got to know him a little bit, and we're very excited about continuing that relationship. So, thank you, Jeff. Great job. We'll talk to you again soon. Look, James puts it up every night. Head over to our website, saltygingertalk.com. All of our podcast episodes are available there. Links to our social media accounts are available there. We publish a newsletter every weekday you can subscribe to on our website. And make sure you like, share, comment, subscribe to our podcast, whatever platform you consume it on. We're going to keep finding awesome guests. We're going to keep having awesome conversations. If you're looking to build a life of purpose and meaning and gratitude, this is the place for you. You don't want to miss all our awesome guests and what they have to teach us. Make sure you catch our next episode. We'll see you there.